gonna need a tourniquet. Drop my gun. Okay, we're gonna need to use your rifle. I dropped mine. Where's that tourniquet?
If you're an FPS gamer in 2025, you probably fall into one of three groups. Group 1, you think Call of Duty is dead, and Battlefield is here to take its rightful crown as king of the military first-person shooter genre. Group 2, you think Battlefield 6 is just another Battlefield game, and who cares? When BF7 drops, Battlefield 6 is going to be dead in the water. And Group 3, you don't care which game is on top. All you care about is having a game that is polished, fun, and worth that exorbitant $80 price tag, and nothing else really matters. Now, if you're in Group 1, you're correct.
Correct!
If you're in Group 2, well, we'll see what happens when BO7 releases, but I wouldn't hold my breath, big guy.
Our time has passed, John.
If you're in Group 3, welcome to the club. You can hang your jacket by the door, and there's cigars and donuts in the break room. I'm in Group 3, because when I buy a game, which, I'll be honest, it's pretty rare nowadays, I expect there to be a level of quality and fun to make it worth the price. $80 for a piss-poor undercooked game is just unacceptable. But I already knew Battlefield 6 was worth it for the multiplayer alone. Literally everyone and their mom has seen content on BF6. But I got curious, is the campaign actually good? Or did they just tack it on as bonus content for the Battlefield fans to play alongside the incredibly phenomenal multiplayer experience? So in today's video, we're answering that question. Is Battlefield 6's campaign actually worth playing? When I first saw the trailer for the campaign, I was actually pretty excited to see what was in store for the next installment of the Battlefield series. The trailers made the campaign feel grounded in like a sick, modern military story, unlike what we've gotten from COD in recent years.
Heard you died in a tank in South America.
Well, I wasn't in that tank.
You've got to be shitting me.
Unfucking believable.
So, you missed me? Well, technically, you did, didn't you?
You terrorist.
No! Are you really retarded?
Yes.
Motherfuckers!
That seems wrong. But wait, there's more.
Save yourself!
Now, before playing the campaign on stream, me and my buddy Jaime were talking about Battlefield 6 and how we love the multiplayer and how we feel like we're in our prime again.
Not me. I'm in my prime.
And eventually we got on the topic of the campaign, and that's where he said that the campaign was mid. He told me a bit about the story, and how his game lagged a bunch, and how certain animations were glitched. And I was actually pretty disappointed to hear that, because I think if Battlefield wants to beat out COD, they need to provide a stellar campaign alongside an epic multiplayer experience. So instead of basing my opinion on the campaign just off the conversation Jaime and I had, and what the rest of the internet had been saying, I decided to hop into it myself and see if this campaign was truly as mid as everyone had been saying. With my expectations set not too high, just wanting to have fun with this campaign, I played it. And it's a good thing I did, because this campaign is fucking epic. Holy shit, from the moment the campaign started, I knew I was in for a whole lot of fun. The opening was peak. I like how we were shown the typical day-to-day experience of a soldier, the mundanity of living on a military base. Then, shit hits the fan. That was so sick, really. I wasn't expecting an opening like that, so I was, like, pleasantly surprised. And the ending of this first mission was also just chef's kiss, so good. So for context, I mainly play COD campaigns.
What you're seeing is advanced warfare.
So I was expecting the characters you were with to come away from this scot-free. So it threw me for a loop when you're fighting off the enemy forces in your downed helicopter, and the guys you had been with for the whole mission start getting picked off one by one. That sequence was one of my favorites in the entire campaign, not only because that scene was just so badass with you fighting off the seemingly endless number of enemy soldiers with only your pistol, but the ending cinematic of one of your character's closest buddies being dragged out of the wreckage and being put onto the helicopter with the American flag draped over his dead body. That scene was incredible. You know, absolute cinema. And that's why I think this intro was a really good way to start off this campaign. But I'll give you all more on this story and its highs and lows in a bit, because we need to talk about the gameplay. As a guy who primarily plays shooter titles, I can tell you I've seen a lot of blunders and a lot of successes when it comes to a game's primary gameplay loop. And thank goodness Battlefield 6 is an absolute success.
You cannot afford. Great success.
So like I said earlier, I had played the multiplayer for multiple hours before I even touched the campaign, but holy shit, I am still astounded by how good the gameplay is in this game as a whole. First, one of the most important mechanics any game could have, movement. The movement in this game is just perfect. It feels real. Whenever you run and slide into cover, it feels like something you would see a soldier do. It's not over the top. You're not slide canceling like it's OG Warzone, and it's not Black Ops 6's Omni movement.
And I've decided that I want to die.
It feels grounded, and it gives you, the player, the perfect amount of badassness with the movement, and it also isn't as realistic as something like Hell Let Loose.
Bro!
And I think this adds to the groundedness and believability that this installment of the Battlefield franchise was aiming for. Because let's be real, if you're getting shot at, you're not going to perfect posture run away. You're going to get as low as possible to limit the surface area the enemy can hit you until you reach some form of cover. But that's just me. I haven't been in any branch of the military or ever been shot at. I make videos about games and get no bitches. But hands down, the most important mechanic in any FPS title is the gunplay. And the gunplay in this game feels tight, responsive, realistic, and extremely, extremely satisfying. Nasty.
Oh, this making me have an organism in my trousers.
I feel like a large part of the realism and satisfaction comes from the design of the guns themselves. Every gun model is perfect, and keep in mind this is coming from a guy who isn't a gun nerd, but every gun I use in this campaign looks like what I would imagine its real-life counterpart to look like. The quality of the gun models are just breathtaking, that paired with how they visually change as you play. Let me explain. So if you take a large amount of damage, large enough to where your screen blurs to show you that you're on your last legs, the next time you aim down sights, or look at your gun in general, you will visibly be able to see your own blood all over your weapon. And I think that was a completely unnecessary addition to this game, but a phenomenal addition for the sake of realism and immersion. I have played so many COD campaigns where when you take a lot of damage, all you get to visualize it is your screen getting fuzzy and the little blood droplets around the edges. Which, you know, tells you you're about to get your shit packed.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
But this is the first game that changes that fuzzy screen from just a visual representation of your low health into a persistent reminder without detracting from the gameplay. And holy shit, DICE and Battlefield Studios didn't have to create such a cool mechanic that goes almost unnoticed, but I applaud them for caring about the little things in this game. Another little thing that makes the gunplay so satisfying are the hit markers. The hit markers in this game are so good. You know, they aren't over the top, they aren't in your face or anything like that. They have the perfect level of subtlety that adds another level of addictiveness to the already addictive gameplay loop. Especially when you're playing as Gecko and you hit one of the nastiest headshots NATO has ever seen. I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, Battlefield 6 has the best feeling, the best looking, and the best sounding mechanics in any FPS title I've ever played. That's another thing, the sound design. The audio design in this campaign, and in this game as a whole, is perfect. I played the multiplayer and the campaign with the audio settings set to War Tapes VAL, and holy shit, if you're watching this video right now and you play on the regular audio settings, pause me right now, go and boot up Battlefield 6 and change it to War Tapes VAL. Trust me, it's a whole new game. This audio mix gives the guns, the grenades, the RPGs, and everything and anything you can shoot in this game the most realistic sound effects I have ever heard in a game. Period.
Shotgun!
Get out of my game, little boy. You're a boy in a man's world. And I love to play with boys. Alright. I'm gonna thread the needle. Dang it. Hell yeah, that was sick. That was awesome. Every gun you pick up and shoot sounds as realistic as they would be if you were shooting them in real life. I mean, I haven't shot an RPG, so that one might be a little bit of a stretch, but I'm no stranger to guns.
You couldn't shoot a fart out of your own ass!
The damn near perfect audio goes hand in hand with the incredibly detailed gun designs, and the surprisingly smooth and accurate feel that every gun has. And I mean, coming from the last Battlefield game, Battlefield 2042, this feels realms, hell, universes. Okay, I'll go even bigger. Multiverses better than that shit was.
I thought I had my actual gun out, but I didn't. Oh.
What the fuck?
The destruction in this game is, it's pretty meh. Is what I would say if I was a smooth-brained, simple-minded retard.
I'm retarded?
The destruction in this game is actually crazy. We see tanks, jets, and personnel vehicles getting absolutely obliterated. And every time it happens, it's a work of art. And throughout the campaign, you fight in environments that dynamically change as the battle rages on. And I have never really played a game with such detailed and realistic levels of destruction. I haven't been a big Battlefield guy until this game, so I don't have any prior games to base the destruction off of, but from the COD campaigns and the other FPS titles that I've played, the destruction in this game is just peak. Watching all these buildings, cars, and roadways being destroyed as you're fighting off the enemy forces added a huge level of immersion for me. And I have to say, it felt like what I imagined an active warzone would look like as a battle raged on, and not just a static background that you're only meant to pass through as you're on your way to kill more enemies and progress to the mission. Now, boys and girls, let's talk about set pieces. Every good FPS game has one or two huge memorable set pieces that stick with you years after playing the game, and Battlefield 6 has no shortage of set pieces. But let's get down to brass tacks and talk about my opinion on the two best ones in this game. So I'm torn between which set piece I like more out of these two because they're both just magnificent. In the mission where you have to destroy the ground-air missile systems, you can't take all of them out, so you do the dopest shit ever and you call your buddies in the FA-18s to same-day delivery some fucking freedom. And blow the dam to smithereens in order to destroy the rest of the missile systems. And holy shit, that was just so peak. Watching the enemy reinforcements try to outrun the rubble just to get crushed and taken away by the rushing water was so fun to watch. Also, this scene scratches the part of my brain that is obsessed with seeing the good old US of A do some cool shit as a show of power. This itch rarely gets scratched, but hot damn, did it feel good. Another thing that would have caused me to have a full meltdown is if your squad was wearing the chalky chip camo pattern. Dude, Chalky chip camo pattern, peak. Let's just say there'd be a spell on Aisle My Pants if you catch my drift.
Why don't you shut the fuck up?
And the other mission that is tied for my favorite set piece in this entire campaign is the mission where you have to defuse the hypersonic missiles that are carrying the compound NXC, and where you also have to take down the big bad Kincaid.
Watch this. Ooh. Sleep, motherfucker!
And holy shit, that mission was pretty cool already, but when you can't defuse all of the missiles and you have to get the hell out of Dodge before they detonate, you and your team escape in a conveniently placed helicopter, and while you're leaving the area, they go off with you and your team still above the missile hangars, low enough for one of your squad mates to comment on how they can feel the heat from here. That was just so badass and a very beautiful scene as well. I can't tell if it's more badass or more beautiful, but holy smokes, I will definitely remember that mission for a very long time. Also, honorable mention to the mission where you have to blow up the Brooklyn Bridge. That was sick, but when I think about the set pieces in this game, the first two come to mind. But let me know, which was your favorite set piece? Now, while I know that Battlefield and Call of Duty share the same genre of military first-person shooters, I don't completely think it's fair to compare the stories between the two franchises because, both provide a different experience for the player. But I couldn't help but feel a lot of similarities to one of the best modern Call of Duties ever released, Modern Warfare 2019. If you haven't played MW19 in a while, or ever, let me explain. The most memorable mission in that game is called Clean House, where you have to quietly breach and clear a townhouse suspected of housing Al-Qatala terrorists while wearing night vision and using the darkness as cover.
Oh, you think darkness is your ally? You merely adopted the dark. I was born in it, molded by it. I didn't see the light until I was already a man. By then it was nothing to me but blinding.
And while you're clearing the townhouse, you have to clear every room and every floor. The reason why the internet and myself remember this mission so fondly is because of how cool and original this mission was to the franchise. Switching from the fast-paced run-and-gun mission structure that we're all used to a slow, methodical pace that gives the mission time to breathe and gives the player the ability to soak up every little detail about it. This mission also gives you the free will to kill civilians, which was crazy. It tested you by having civilians act like they were hostile just for it to turn out that they were innocent and not a threat.
Don't move! No shit.
And that was probably my favorite thing about that mission in MW19. And where I see the similarities between MW19's Clean House and Battlefield 6's Night Raid is 1. You use night vision to infiltrate a terrorist-occupied location undetected. 2. The fact that your actions have consequences such as your own death or the possible death of non-involved innocents. And 3. The overall vibe that both of these missions have. The feeling that any little mistake could cost everything. And that feeling of being a covert infiltrator. That feeling of power over the enemy who are completely oblivious to what you and your team are doing in the shadows. I think this was a very smart call for Battlefield to take inspiration from one of the best modern Call of Duty campaigns and to put their own spin on it in this game. That was a 10 out of 10 move from DICE. That mission was awesome to play through, but nowhere near as fun as the first 3 missions in this campaign. The mission with Gecko and Carter where they skydive in Gibraltar, that was just so fun. When this mission started, I was expecting it to be one of those cookie-cutter FPS missions, where you and some NPCs storm a base and kill a bunch of bad guys to capture the area, like any average Call of Duty mission.
No!
But I was pleasantly surprised when we landed, and it ended up just being me and Carter moving to an elevated position. After taking out a couple of enemies, we posted up in a partially collapsed tower to provide sniper support for the troops who would actually be doing the pushing and infiltrating the enemy-occupied area. And I really liked it. This is the second mission, and my expectations for this campaign have already been exceeded when it comes to level design. This mission gets even better, as after you provide said sniper support, air support comes by and blows the shit out of the main structure, and that was just sick as hell. Air support comes by and air support.
It's an urban legend that never happened.
Let me ask you a question. Did I just do your job for you?
Excuse me?
Did I just do your job for you?
I guess so.
You're fired! Get the hell out of here! Go on, pack your shit up and get out of here!
After the main structure is blown up, Carter and Gecko go into the tunnels of the compound, and there is a World War II museum, which is just really cool set dressing. One, because it's cool to see all the memorabilia and the relics from World War II, and two, the mannequins, they freaked me out at first. Because when we get down there, I thought they were enemies, and that paired with the lack of consistent lighting made this segment of the mission just a really fun, intense section. And that's because you never know if the human-looking figure in the dark room you just entered is a mannequin or an actual enemy combatant.
Who's that stumbling around in the dark? State your business or prepare to get winged.
So after multiple stressful, dimly lit fights, we get back to the surface and we have to take out the AAA gun so reinforcements can arrive. And this segment is the perfect example of how fun and engaging the gunplay is in this campaign. But I'll talk more on that in a second. Let me explain something really quick. As we progress through the tunnels, we would come across weapon caches, and this is where I think the unique equipment slot is awesome for this campaign. This slot serves its purpose in the multiplayer to differentiate your different classes: engineer, assault, recon, and support. But in the campaign, for the most part, you could take any unique item and equip it regardless of which class the character you were playing at the time was. And that's why these weapon caches were so nice to stumble upon, because I found a grenade launcher and equipped it to Gecko, the sniper, so I was able to combine the long-range accuracy with up-close and personal combat aided by the aforementioned grenade launcher. And that was a blast to pair those two different fighting styles together so I could fight through the waves of enemies and get to the AAA gun and blow it up. Not to mention the fact that this section was actually pretty difficult, but in a good way. You had to decide if you were going to risk it for the biscuit and close the distance between you and the AAA gun, or if you're going to stay put and try to eliminate the enemies attempting to stop you. I will say that on the surface, this is a very standard FPS mission design, but I think that the map, the weapons, and the different kinds of enemies that you encounter made this a far more dynamic mission than I was ever expecting. The one thing that I hate about modern Call of Duty are the health bars and the numbers that fly across the screen when you do damage to an enemy. And I mean, that's only been in zombies with a toggleable slider until Black Ops 7, having it in the campaign, which, dear God, that campaign looks like abysmal dog shit. I got the knee up and everything. I'm locked in. That shit's abysmal dog shit. But here in Battlefield 6, there is a similar thing that they do, having a health bar, but it's almost like it's small, barely noticeable, and has a fucking purpose. It shows the player that they're shooting at an armored enemy that is proficient in a specific weapon, and not some zombie you're shooting while you're doing the fentanyl in a shipping container. Do I look like I'm doing the fentanyl? Impromptu stinky leg. Alright, good one. Good one, pal. I'm paying the bills with that one, big guy. Good one. Okay, jokes aside, who at Activision genuinely looked at that campaign and thought, $80, send it out?
Are you a complete fucking retard?
Also, let me know if you'd like to see me stream that game, because, I want to force my buddy to play it with me, because we both know that it's the biggest piece of dog shit, and I think it would just be really fun to play it and just talk some shit. So, either let me know in the comments below if you'd like me to play it, or if this video gets 100 likes. This video gets 100 likes. We'll be generous. 100 likes. I'll play it on stream. But let's get back to the video. I think as a whole that this mission with Gecko and Carter was just really fun, and it did showcase the depth and creativity that the combat brings to the table. But there is another mission that I love more just because of how badass it is and how much I feel like I'm there. I'm serving my country. I'm there. It feels like I'm actually at war. World at war?
Get the Reznov Challenge Pack when you pre-order now.
Where am I? Where's Reznov?
Reznov Challenge Pack when you pre-order now.
This is where we jump back to our boy from the intro, Murphy. In this mission, Murphy and Lopez, a new addition to our squad, need to get onto the island of Gibraltar to provide support for Carter and Gecko. But they don't have the luxury of skydiving in. No, they have to be complete badasses and drive an Amtrak onto shore and push up to the rendezvous point. This intro was so cinematic. You man the turret, shoot mines out of the water, and you push up to shore and start taking out mounted guns, enemy infantry, and personnel vehicles on your approach to the rendezvous point. This is what Battlefield does best. they show what all-out warfare looks like, and they make you feel like you're a cog in the machine of war, and not a one-man army in most other FPS titles. Dude, I'm throwing a lot of shade at Call of Duty. I like older Call of Duty. I'm throwing a lot of shade at Call of Duty. After you provide cover fire for Lopez so he can get a few wounded men back onto the Amtrak, we link up with Carter and Gecko and push to take control of the rendezvous point. And this was a pretty difficult push to capture the point. Like, I was down twice while me and my 3 AI teammates and the other reinforcements were assaulting the point. This was a really fun segment in this mission, getting to fight alongside the characters from the previous mission, who originally I thought they were just going to be one-off characters and not like staples of the team. Like, genuinely didn't know there was a team. But by far the best part of this mission has to be when you're escorting one of our tanks through the crowded city, which has been taken over by packed soldiers. And when I say taken over, I mean taken over. They have soldiers posted up in windows and houses and around corners, so this escort wasn't your run-of-the-mill, take it easy and walk the tank to the point like you're walking your dog. No, this mission was hectic because you didn't know what was around each corner. There could be soldiers anywhere, hiding in plain sight and in places that look safe and unsuspecting. This segment of the mission genuinely had me pre-checking windows and doorways because, they could pop out of the woodworks at any moment. It felt tense, but not in the way that the previous mission was with the cover of dark, you're fighting someone in the pitch black. No, this was more of a realistic fight or flight response that the game was giving me, and I really enjoyed that. I freaking love that. And another thing that I love about Battlefield 6's campaign is that it doesn't just nail tight claustrophobic missions, it nails one of the most overused and often criticized military FPS mission designs from recent years. Open missions. Wow! This is the one and only choose-your-own-approach mission in the entire campaign. And honestly, Battlefield 6 executed this idea really well. And I'll be honest, I'm not a huge fan of open mission designs when it comes to campaigns. I feel like it should be mostly linear and revolve around story, opposed to just, you're out there, open world. So I was genuinely impressed with how Battlefield 6 implemented this idea, and they did it in a way that didn't feel out of place or random, and it was also actually fun deciding which objective I wanted to hit first. Compare that to COD, where the last 3 campaigns replaced the traditional linear levels with these open missions just to save money and development time. Personally, I think that's extremely lazy coming from multi-billion-dollar studios, and it also doesn't help that more often than not, these open sandbox missions always end up being my least favorite to play, especially in Modern Warfare 3, where most of them literally just take place on the Warzone map. And that's exactly where Battlefield 6's open mission just obliterates, destroys CODs. This mission takes place on a map specifically built for the campaign, not a reused sandbox from a multiplayer map or from the Battle Royale mode. This mission doesn't feel like an afterthought or a shortcut. It feels like a designed moment meant to spice up the campaign and give the player some actual freedom in terms of which objective they want to attack first. And this mission is made a million times better just because of the fact that it is the one and only use in this entire campaign. DICE using this open mission structure sparingly, one, was a great idea because it fits perfectly with the plot and the overarching story in the mission. Taking out all the surface-to-air missiles in the area, then the mission does funnel back into the traditional linear one-objective mission style we've seen throughout the rest of the campaign. And 2, the single-time use makes this mission feel fresh and fun instead of a cheap cop-out. But I want to play on the Warzone! I want to play on the Warzone map! Rebirth Island! Hey McFly! Think! Are you a complete fucking retard? I just need to get that off my chest because COD has overused this open mission structure so hard in the last 3 to 4 games to very, very minimal community approval. And it's genuinely hilarious that Battlefield, which hasn't been exactly in the community's good graces since 2042's abysmal launch,
I'm sorry, I don't play video games that lie to me.
They managed to put out a single mission that is more fun, more engaging, and more enjoyable than all 3 COD games that used that same mission structure. Anyways, that brings me back to the final mission that I really loved in this game, the intro. Go ahead and cancel me, just my opinion. But this mission was such a fantastic way to open up the campaign. Like I said earlier, this mission starts out as any other normal day on base, and then you suddenly get attacked and you have to run and try to get control over the situation and try to stop the incoming forces. I really think that this mission gave us a good taste of what was to come for the subsequent 2 missions. It showed you that this campaign was going to be a grounded military shooter, a story about war, about soldiers, about sacrifice. It showed us this in the first 28 minutes of the campaign. It showed us Murphy's 3 friends, his squad members, die in a valiant fight to survive, to save their home, their people, and to stand strong against the overwhelming force of the enemy. And this is shown to the audience not only through the visuals, but through Jay Walker's performance in this scene.
Let's go! Let's go!
You're safe now. No one else made it up?
It was just me. Just me.
And this is the first of many great performances given to us by Jay. But I can't even explain how real his acting made this moment feel to me.
I'm on your 6, guys. Wait for me.
And that's why I love this intro. It didn't pussyfoot around the subject material of war, of death, of sacrificing everything you have to protect the people and the country that you love. It dove headfirst into it and brought us a realistic, gritty, and grounded depiction of war. And for me, someone who has had a family member in active duty and during the height of the war on terror, this was the perfect way to depict those very real moments and emotions, and I'm very thankful that they handled this intro with such love and care, and they didn't make it some shitty, over-the-top action fest. For a campaign that I've been praising for the last 25 minutes about its realism, I myself need to be realistic, and we need to talk about the not-so-stellar parts about this game. But we can't do that without first mentioning the troubled development of this campaign. The development for this campaign was messy to say the least, and after Battlefield 2042 crashed and burned, EA decided to basically reboot the entire franchise. A bunch of old DICE leadership left, and EA brought in new people to take over everything. And while that was happening, EA created a brand new studio from scratch called Ridgeline Games, led by Marcus Leto, the co-creator of Halo. And the new studio was put in charge of building the entire campaign. But Ridgeline was a new team who were building their pipelines and tools for their studio, while at the same time they were trying to build the story and gameplay for this new campaign. And they ended up working on it for about 2.5 years before EA decided to shut down the entire studio in early 2024, which caused Marcus Leto to leave the project entirely. When Ridgeline closed, the campaign's development didn't pause. No, it got dumped onto multiple different studios at once. DICE in Sweden, Criterion in the UK, Motive in Canada, and multiple other EA support teams. None of these studios were originally building this campaign, so each one had a different workflow, different tools, and everyone was spread across different time zones. The odds were definitely not in their favor, and trying to merge all of that into one single-player experience halfway through development was basically impossible to do cleanly. Reports even claimed that while the multiplayer and Portal mode were hitting their internal milestones, the campaign was the only part of the game that kept falling behind, and that forced the teams to crunch and rebuild large parts of Ridgeline's previous work just in order to catch up. That's the reality of it. A campaign that started off in one studio, they got canned and lost its leadership, got handed off mid-production, and then had to be finished by teams that were already stretched thin. And all of that chaos definitely did have an effect on the final product. And I will give DICE, Criterion, and Motive Studios credit where it's due. For the amount of last-second scrambling they had to pull off, they still put out a campaign that's fun, exciting, and for the most part polished. Meanwhile, we've seen studios with far larger budgets and far more time ship games in downright embarrassing conditions. So honestly, respect to them for making an actually playable campaign. So now that we all have context behind the developmental struggles that plagued this campaign, I need to shine a light on some of the issues that I experienced during my playthrough. Starting off with performance and animations. So while streaming this game, I experienced more than a few performance issues. The first one was when the game would transition from gameplay to cutscenes. I don't know if this was an issue with my Xbox settings or my capture card, but the frames would drop quite a bit. I would go from playing to watching the cutscenes, and while it's not the biggest deal, I would say that it definitely hindered my enjoyment and took me out of the experience when it would go from running at a semi-smooth 60 FPS to what felt like somewhere between 30 to 25 frames. While I don't know the exact amount of frames I was getting during the cutscenes, I can tell you that this was a big enough drop to 1, be noticed, and 2, just be unenjoyable to experience. And the dropping of frames didn't only happen when the game would transition from gameplay to cutscene. I noticed while watching back the stream to write my video, there were tons of times where the game would go from running buttery smooth to moving like liquid shit. Why do the frames drop every cutscene? And like I said before, that might have been something wrong with my Xbox or, you know, with my capture card. And I was using my old laptop, so we have to add that into consideration. And I will say, I am so sorry for including that footage because, dude, watching it back myself, it just pissed me off. The inconsistency of the frame rate pissed me off so much. So, you know, I hope you appreciate me adding these gameplay clips. They're real great, aren't they? I'm a gamer, dude. The second major performance issue that I experienced during my playthrough was the awful screen tearing, and I think that might have been an issue with my capture card, but at the same time, I've played a bunch of other games beforehand and after that, and there's no screen tearing. So it has to be either the Xbox or the capture card. So I'm going to be going halvesies on the blame. For $80 for the game not to work properly with a capture card, that's just really annoying, and this was another issue that limited my enjoyment with the campaign. Now, animations. I remember playing Battlefield 2042, and that was a buggy mess even after they made the game playable.
So he just can't be here. Now he can be here. Okay.
What the fuck is this? I don't know.
This campaign isn't on the same level of bugginess, but it does have its own fair share of animation issues and other odd bugs. I remember, I believe it was near the end of the second mission after blowing up the AAA gun, we continue through the enemy base, and while we're doing that, Carter is walking around and explaining the goal of our mission, and while he's doing that, he's holding an invisible gun, and after the scripted walk ended, the gun magically reappeared into his hand. Kinda goofy. I don't know why that happened, kinda goofy. The next bug that I ran into happened during the open world mission. As Gecko, you get access to a drone that you can fly around and use to spot enemies. So I decided to use it. I wanted to get a good look at the next area before I walked into it, so I launched my drone and stepped into a cutscene trigger at the exact time. Literally, the exact time. What are we doing? What are we doing? And that made my game glitch out and play the cutscene while I was stuck in my drone's POV. And I couldn't even move the drone, and all I was seeing was the ground from when I first launched it, and I was just listening to the cutscene that I was supposed to be watching. This was just so bum goofy, because I don't think I could redo that again. I don't think I could ever do that again. Launch it as soon as I walk into the cutscene trigger. Bum goofy. By far the most immersion-breaking bug I experienced in the entire campaign was in the mission where you have to disable the missiles and take down Kincaid. This mission was playing fine and nothing seemed to be wrong or bugged, but when I finally caught up to Kincaid and I was about to interrogate him, the game switched from gameplay to cutscene, and it absolutely shit the bed. It kept my HUD on the screen, and while I went up to Kincaid to talk to him, he was giving his bad guy speech and his lips weren't moving at all.
You learned your lesson from the last time he passed.
What the fuck?
This glitch was already annoying because it took me out of the experience big time, so I decided I was going to restart from last checkpoint and hope that that would fix the issue like it had done with the drone. Nope. Nope. That didn't fix it because it crashed the game. His mouth not moving.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer.
$80. That's all I'm saying. $80 and restarting from the last checkpoint fucking breaks the game. Those were the major bugs that I experienced during my playthrough of this campaign, and for $80, I am disappointed with the amount of bugs that are in the campaign, but not as disappointed as I am with some of the missions that come after Mission For For instance, there is a tank-specific mission where you play as a getaway driver from the night vision mission that I mentioned previously. Tanks are cool, right? Don't get me wrong. I love using them in the multiplayer, and I love any excuse to use them in the campaign, but this mission was straight up ass. For one, I'm getting murked for like 30 minutes, and the thing about this mission is, you're essentially the tank. You can't get out and repair it, so you have to play strategically to get past certain areas and enemies. And I like that. I like how you have to use your brain and you have to make up plans to get around other tanks so you can take them out. The main thing I don't like about this mission is when it happens. This mission comes out of nowhere. We are about to uncover what has been going on under the surface for this entire story, and then we get thrown into a filler tech demo mission. The reason why this mission is just a showcase of how the tanks work is because if you took this mission and deleted it from the campaign, you would lose absolutely nothing. The story in this mission was boring, and I didn't care because it halted the momentum that the previous mission had been building up, just to bring you a glorified tutorial on how tanks work. And then in the literal next mission, you get to use a tank. So I feel like they should have just cut this mission out of the campaign or made it more fun and dynamic, like giving the player the ability to get out of their tank and fix it, but adding in some kind of a challenge. Like, every time you get out to fix it, the enemy AI would detect that, and that's when they would push towards you to take you out while you're outside the safety of your metal turtle. Or maybe giving you only 2 uses on your blowtorch, which would make you think in a whole new way to try to avoid damage as you can, and then making the player actively think about the best time that they can use their limited amount of heals. I think that would have definitely made this mission stand out better, or at least made it more dynamic and fun. Alright, can the friendly tanks on my team, fucking do something? Out of the whole campaign, I think this was the only mission where I genuinely wanted to stop playing because I was dying left and right and really wish that I could just get out of my tank and heal it. I don't understand why they wouldn't let you just get out and fix your tank, because if not, you have to be the best tank driver and tank operator in the fucking world. This shit is making me genuinely just want to put the game down. But this campaign has a couple other issues when it comes to missions in the later half of its 5-hour runtime. Sameness. Every mission after 4 felt like it was blending together. Things stopped feeling new or unique, and that isn't saying that those missions altogether were terrible. No, that isn't true. There were still cool things happening and new things added to gameplay, but as a whole, I don't think those tiny little inclusions helped the overall feeling of repetitiveness. Personally, I think that the best that this campaign has to offer is within the first 4 missions. That's where the most amount of memorable moments happen, new and interesting gameplay inclusions, and just overall fun. And that's because most of the missions after the 4th felt like I was going from one area to the next, shooting people until the next cutscene played, and not actually engaging with the story. That leads me to my biggest letdown in this entire campaign. The story. Don't get me wrong, we go to some cool places and do some fun, crazy shit because of the story, but if I was strapped to a chair and the only way for me to get out was to explain the entire campaign beat for beat, I would die in that chair.
Is that correct?
Yes. The story is just forgettable. Like, I remember the basics, the general setup, the big moments, but everything in between is a blur. The story isn't deep enough to stick with you, but at the same time, it's not shallow enough for it to be absolute dog shit. And the reason it ends up feeling that way becomes really obvious when you look at how the campaign starts versus where it ends up. At the beginning of the game, I was hooked, locked in for what felt like a down-to-earth, gritty war story. And for the first 4 missions, that's exactly what I got. But after that, the story slowly drifted into more of an action movie type story, focusing more on taking down the big bad and uncovering a traitor who's been under our nose the whole time, instead of leaning deeper into the grounded tone it originally set up. It honestly feels like 2 different campaigns that were stitched together, and I think that's in part because of Ridgeline Games, their initial story, and then the people who picked up afterwards. We go from a promising, realistic depiction of modern warfare to a basic FPS structure where you just go here, do this, kill them, and repeat. Almost like the story takes a back seat in terms of seriousness. And that freaking sucks because I really wanted this game to keep following in the direction that it set up in that first mission. But instead we ended up with a pretty generic take down the villain, stop the enemy within storyline. And let me give you an example of that. One of the most visible tone shifts for me happens when you compare Mission 2 to Mission 6. Mission 2, which was one of my favorites, has you infiltrating an enemy-held area and pushing back terrorist forces. And yeah, this mission does introduce Kincaid and start to set him up as the big bad. But when I played it, I thought it was going to be more of a, he's a general in the terrorist army and we need to take him out or bring him to justice to destabilize the terrorist organization type of thing. Everything leading up to that point was gritty, grounded, and felt like an actual military operation, the kind of mission that sells you on this being a serious, war-focused campaign. But when we hit Mission 6, you can feel the tone complete the shift from the grounded story it set up to the more cinematic, villain-driven storyline. Don't get me wrong, this is still a good mission, but your first real face-off with Kincaid is the moment the story switches from soldiers in a war to heroes chasing the big bad. And the moment that really locks that shift in permanently is when Kincaid kills Carter and references how Carter burnt Kincaid and left him to die.
Those fuckers laughed when they threw acid over me. You know what it's like to smell your own face being eaten away.
Framing this as his revenge, which sets Murphy on his own quest for revenge to kill Kincaid for taking his mentor, his father figure, away from him and forcing him to become the leader of the Dagger team. And that contrast alone shows just how quickly the campaign stops being the grounded war story initially set out to be. Another thing that I want to touch on are the characters in this campaign, because they're not the most fleshed out squad mates you'll ever meet in an FPS story, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. They land in this middle ground where they're not super fleshed out, but they're also not generic or copy-paste. They feel like real people on your squad, soldiers with their own roles, quirks, and little bits of personality. Throughout cutscenes and dialogue, you start picking up on who they are, even if the campaign never makes a point to dive super deep into them.
Join the Marines, they said. You'll see the world, they said.
Here we go! Game time, boys!
Certainly.
And honestly, some of these characters ended up standing out a lot more than I was expecting. My main man, Murphy, quickly became one of my favorite characters. He's that strong, steady, reliable presence who feels like the heart of the team. Then you've got Lopez, or as I like to refer to him as, the financial audit guy. Lopez, financial audit guy. Can't remember your name. Apologize. Can you not see the resemblance? Is it just me? Is it just me? It might be just me. Lopez was funnier and more charismatic than he has any right to be, and I think if I had to do a ranking of my favorite characters in this campaign, he would be first place.
Straight to the shitty part of the plan.
Why can we never do plan A?
Shooter. And we can't forget Gecko. She brings her own energy and personality to the squad. She's more of a hothead, but also a no-nonsense, I take shit from nobody kind of attitude.
Because I'm a stud. I'm ballsy. I don't take no shit from anyone.
And I really like that. Especially in the cutscenes where we're getting info from Mills, the woman who betrayed us and left us for dead in that missile silo, that was about to be bombed off the face of the earth.
Because of you, there's a crater in Tajikistan that used to be a mountain!
One character that I wish the campaign gave us more of was Hemlock. This dude is a badass, and I feel like the writers were trying their own spin on Ghost from the Modern Warfare games, but out of all of the characters in this campaign, unfortunately Hemlock was the least developed. They're not the most deeply written characters ever, but they're memorable enough that you genuinely enjoy having them around. We can't move on without mentioning Carter. Even though he isn't with us for the entire campaign, he still manages to leave a huge impact. The writers pulled off the feeling of him being the team's leader, their rock, and they really pulled off how he feels like a father figure to Murphy. The kind of mentor who pushes him, guides him, and helps him grow into the leader that the Dagger Squad needed.
Fight smarter.
His presence, even in the earlier missions, sets the foundation for Murphy's arc, and when Carter is taken from the team, it hits harder because of how much it shaped Marshall and the rest of the squad into the soldiers that they needed to become. What happened? Hey, Lopez, calm down, dude. Calm down, Lopez.
Hey,
you good?
Lo, you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right. We have our objective to complete.
Let's move!
And while we're on the topic of characters, I just need to highlight some of the performances from the actors in this campaign.
But every crisis is an opportunity. Like the man said, chaos is a ladder.
I wouldn't have taken a round to the chest, and we probably wouldn't have spent the better part of a week walking around with a severed fucking thumb.
Language.
My bad.
My people!
People like Kincaid!
You are the enemy from within. Because of people like you, PAC's got their hands on an XC.
Because of you, there's a crater in Tajikistan that used to be a mountain!
You trying to start a war with the CIA?
No, I'm trying to end one.
Then how is she useful to us?
That is not the fucking question!
If they succeed, they will have secured the most strategic rock in the history of warfare. The
British Squad Lancer are already on deck and in position. Hey, Devil Dogs! Want to help our friends take back this rock?
I was not expecting some of these performances to be as good as they were, but I am very happy that, even with the campaign's awful development, that the actors and actresses were able to put 110% into their performances, and that really elevated the experience for me. Just knowing that the people who brought these characters to life cared about the quality of their work. And while I have mentioned and shown clips from almost every main character in the story, I haven't mentioned Tony Curran's performance, and that isn't to say that he did a bad job. No, on the contrary, I think he did a great job with the script he was given. I personally think that the story and the writing for his character was just unfortunately not great. His performance of the less than stellar writing was great, and he was a serviceable villain for the story. I genuinely hope to see him in more games with better character writing for him, so he can shine brighter than he did in this campaign. At the end of the day, this campaign ended up being a weird mix of everything. A grounded war drama, an explosive action movie, and a revenge story. But somehow, even with those shifts, I still walked away having a really good time. The story sets about a 5 out of 10 for me. It's simple, easy to understand, but at times it's a bit too simple. And you can definitely see the tonal cracks everywhere, but it still provides a fun and enjoyable experience. The gameplay though, straight 10 out of 10. This is easily some of the best gunplay I've experienced in years. The combat feels great, and it gives you the room to experiment and try new things on the go. And that's the biggest reason why this campaign stays fun even when the writing wobbles. The characters land around a 7 out of 10 because Murphy and Lopez surprised me with how memorable they were. And the cast as a whole has enough personality to keep you invested. And in terms of pure enjoyment, it's a solid 8 out of 10. Flaws and all, it's still fun blasting through this thing. Let me give my thoughts so far. Peak. This is actually sick as hell. This is awesome. I love this. This is so much fun. I think I'm having more fun with this campaign than I had with Black Ops 6. That's saying a lot. So overall, I'm giving this campaign a well-earned 7.5 out of 10. This campaign isn't perfect. The story can't rival the biggest and best FPS titles from previous years. But if you want an experience that has some of the best FPS gunplay I have personally experienced in years, and an experience that is cinematic, fast-paced, and again, just genuinely fun to play, this campaign is 100% worth trying out. If you decide to give this campaign a try, let me know in the comments below. How was your overall experience? What was your favorite part about the campaign? Or how would you have improved this campaign? Let me know in the comments below. And thank you for watching. And the gunplay in this game feels tight.
Excuse me?
This slot serves as its purpose in the multiplayer to differentiate your different classes. Tank! What you're seeing is advanced tank! Cut that shit out. Thank you.
Don't run!